A nighthawk was shown perched on a branch under a starry sky. Someone asked if the other person had ever heard of Nighthawk, and then asked, "Hey." Someone else responded, "Huh? Night whore? We're not in that business, pal." Someone then commented that the hitman who wiped out the Tachibana family was the one he meant, and word was they'd shown up in this town, with the other person replying, "For real?" Someone else commented, "Come on, it's just an urban legend. What kind of pro gets swayed by rumors anyway? Everyone, back to your posts." The other man was unresponsive. A man was shown on the floor bleeding from the head, with a gun nearby. Someone asked, "Hey, what's wrong? Why aren't you responding?" Another person, whose face was not fully visible, remained silent. Then a person in a black hooded outfit was seen behind a man in a suit who shouted, "Answer me." The next morning, Hajime Hayashi, the president of the temp agency, Maker Staff, was found dead in his house under mysterious circumstances, along with his bodyguards. The massacre, later known as the Last Hunt, was quickly kept under wraps to not cause a scandal, with it being mentioned only for a few minutes on the morning news. The one called Nighthawk spread her wings and disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Fuyuki Izumida, the once legendary Nighthawk, now a washed-up 33-year-old alcoholic chain-smoking Neet lying on her bed. The question was posed, will she ever make her comeback? Yotaka was seen in bed looking at her phone, which displayed an image of a woman in a swimsuit on a beach. Someone asked, "Hey coach, why don't you put down your phone and come join us?" Yotaka replied with an ellipsis, then later with a creepy smile, and finally someone asked, "What are you doing, Yotaka?" Yotaka was lying on her bed as a man walked into her room.
A man in a suit stands in the doorway while Yotaka lies on her bed. He says, "Oh, it's you." He lectures her, saying, "You're a woman living alone. At least lock your door." She looks annoyed and replies, "Why? Who cares if someone breaks in?" He snaps back, "It's basic common sense, that's why." The man looks around the room. She remarks, "You sure come here often, huh?" He replies lazily, "Your place is closer than the park's smoking area. Can't smoke at work either." He looks down at her and says, "Besides, I can't just let some socially inept former hitman rot away in her room forever, can I?" She glares at him and warns, "Watch your tone. I'm older than you, you know? Don't look down at me." He simply replies, "I have to look down at you." Yotaka turns away and clicks her tongue, saying, "Tss, cocky little brat." He sits on a chair and watches her smoke, thinking, 8 years have passed since the last hunt. He compares her current slouching form to her past muscular self and wonders, man, do people really change this much after they quit their job? The man stares at her chest and mutters, "They got all saggy." She notices his gaze and asks why. "What were you just staring at?" He quickly asks, "Yotaka, how old did you say you were again?" She answers, 33. He tries to cover his tracks, saying, "Nothing, just reminiscing is all." She notices his food and asks, "Oh, what's that?" He replies, "It's a hamburger bento, my lunch." She immediately demands, "Give me the hamburger." He asks, "Then what am I supposed to eat?" She tells him, "If you want one, go buy your own." She refuses to buy one herself, saying, "No, store bentos are too small when overpriced." The man looks at him in disbelief and thinks, "Are convenience or bentos a luxury item now?" The man tries to discuss serious business. He explains, "Look, our agency's not doing great either. Not that it was ever a glamorous business." He continues, "Rival temp firms are popping up everywhere and stealing our workers. The higher-ups are just dying for Nighthawk to make a comeback, a return of the legend." He makes his offer saying, "You get your money, we get a comeback, win-win. What do you say? Want to work for us again?" He promises her, "I'll back you all the way." Yotaka makes a grotesque face and instantly refuses, saying, "Nope." The man thinks, "I want to slap this woman." She puts her jacket back on and says, "You know I quit that job because I hated it. Take a hint, will ya?" She touches her chest and explains, "Once a bond is severed, it doesn't come back. Just like the Cooper's ligament." The man gives up and says, "If it bugs you that much, I won't ask again." As she walks out, he asks, "Where are you going?" She replies, "Gotta piss." The door slams shut with a loud bang. The story continues in the hallway of the apartment. The man stands outside the bathroom with a disgusted look on his face. Because the door is wide open, he thinks to himself, "At least shut the damn door." As he listens to the sound of liquid hitting the water, he notices something pitiful and thinks, her stream's weak. The scene shifts to a restroom at the agency where the man stands at a urinal next to his large, muscular boss. The boss discusses branding strategies, saying, "The return of Nighthawk. The company will need something catchy for its comeback." The boss continues to pressure his subordinate, assuming the task will be simple. He says, "You're still close with her, right? Getting in her good graces should be easy. Sweet talk her into working for us again." He recalls memories of Yotaka acting like a drunken mess. In his memory, she holds up a can and shouts, "Strong zero mixed with strong zero. Look, look." She also points to her phone, bragging about a mistake she made, saying, "I dropped my cigarette in the toilet and burned the bowl. Cost me 40,000 yen to pull this bad boy." Back in the restroom, he expresses his hesitation. He says, "I'll try, but what if she says no?" The boss considers the risks of rejection. He states, "Doubt it, but if another agency snatches her up, that'd be bad for business."
He then delivers a cold assessment of her value, saying, "If she's no use to us, then she's just dead weight." Finally, the boss turns his head with a dark expression and gives the order to get rid of her. Back in the apartment, the man sighs loudly, exclaiming, "Sheesh." However, beneath his jacket, a knife is revealed. Yotaka, unaware of the threat, drinks happily and says, "That really hits the spot." She then questions him, asking, "Did you wash your hands? I didn't hear the tap. Are you even listening?" The man hands his lunch container to Yotaka. He says, "Here, Yotaka, you can have the rest." She looks up in surprise, saying, "Huh?" Yotaka feels bad about taking it all and asks, "You sure? All I wanted was a bite." He deflects her concern, claiming, "Thanks to you, I've lost my appetite." As the man fixes his jacket, he prepares to leave. He says, "Now then, guess I'll get back to work." The man walks toward the trash can behind her. He asks, "Mind if I dump my cigarette butts?" Yotaka is busy eating and replies carelessly, "Sure, whatever." Standing behind her, without warning, the man winds up his arm to strike while Yotaka sits on the floor with her back turned. The man lunges forward with the knife, his face tense with effort. In a split second, Yotaka's expression changes from lazy to sharp. The image of a hawk appears beneath her as she senses the attack. A flurry of action explodes in the room. Yotaka uses her legs to catch the man's arm and neck. In a fluid motion, she flips him over her body while he is still holding the knife. The man hits the floor, staring up in shock. His eyes widen as he processes what happened. A hawk is shown soaring high in the sky. Yotaka's eye is shown in a close-up, sharp and predatory. As the man lies defeated, a smile forms on his face. Yotaka stands up, adjusting her jacket. Above her, a large hawk spreads its wings, symbolizing her awakening.
You almost made my hand dirty again, and not just because I didn't wash them. That's no good, you know? Point something like this at me, and I might start remembering again. Got it? Man, it must suck being a wagey and all. Tell that boss of yours I like my current lifestyle just fine. I have no intention of going back.
In the messy apartment, Yotaka stares in absolute horror at the floor. The can of alcohol has spilled during the scuffle, soaking the bedding. She screams out, "My booze!" The man looks at her with an awkward expression as she points an accusing finger at him. She stammers, "Hey you!" then yells, "Ah, shit! It's all over the futon!" She looks at the empty can on the floor and sighs, saying, "Damn, what a waste. That was my last can too." She falls to her knees, trembling with sadness over the spilled drink. Sitting amidst the trash, she turns her back to the man and complains, "I'm all out of life fuel, 'cause of your half-assed ambush." She mutters, "My booze, give it back." The man walks away from the apartment building, adjusting his tie. He thinks to himself, "She's gotten heavy these days." Back in the room, Yotaka is desperately sucking the spilled alcohol out of a towel. Then the man says, "A return of the legend, huh?" Just then, the doorbell rings with a loud ding. Yotaka goes to answer it. An older woman stands there, looking stern. She starts to yell, "You've got some serious balls coming back," but stops in confusion when she sees the old man's face, saying, "What the? Got a minute?" Yotaka realizes who it is and says, "Oh, landlord, it's you." They sit down on the floor of the cluttered room. "I really don't like nagging tenants like this, but look, Ms. Aoi Yotaka." Yotaka bows her head and whispers, "I'm sorry." The landlady gets straight to the point, asking, "When are you going to pay your rent? It's been 3 months now." "I get it. Living alone as a woman can be tough. But there are limits, you know?" Yotaka looks down depressed and agrees, "Yeah." She scolds Yotaka, saying, "Just look at this place. It's filthy." She adds, "I'm sorry." However, she continues her lecture. She asks, "Don't you feel any shame as a person?" "Sorry." Yotaka mumbles, "Yeah." The landlady asks, "How can you even live like this?" "Yeah, the water's been shut off too, right?" Then she asks a personal question. "Isn't it about time you started thinking about marriage?" She advises, "You should really pull yourself together. You're 33, right?"
Yotaka begins to cry, but the landlady is not moved. She says, "Don't make me feel like the bad guy here. Crying won't help, you know?" She points out the reality of the situation, saying, "You said you were on a recharge break, but let's face it, you're unemployed, right?" The landlady looks at a document and states, "I've made up my mind. So, as much as it pains me to say this," she looks at Yotaka sternly and says, "This isn't a charity. I've got bills to pay too." She delivers the final verdict. "You're out." She explains the terms clearly, saying, "If you can't pay 3 months' rent within 1 month." As the landlady walks out the door, she adds one last complaint. So that's that. I left the eviction notice. Read it. Oh, and the walls are stained too, so don't expect your deposit back." Yotaka stands frozen in the room. The door shuts with a click and a shut. Alone, Yotaka looks at her phone screen, which displays a bank balance of 211 yen. Later, Yotaka is shown looking pale and lifeless like a ghost. At a convenience store, the man is looking at the alcohol selection. This stuff's strong. He wonders to himself, does she drink like this all the time? The man notices it and thinks, that aura looks like she's already... Suddenly, there is a loud whack sound against the store window. He pauses thinking, He turns to see Yotaka pressing her face and hands against the glass from the outside, looking desperate. A family walks by in the background, staring at her. Inside the store, Yotaka approaches the man, panting heavily. The man is surprised to see her and says, "Yotaka? I finally found you. Huff." She gasps, Give me, wheeze, give me." She struggles to speak, saying, "Please," cough. Yotaka drops to her hands and knees on the floor, bowing deeply in desperation. She shouts, "Please, give me a job." The man looks down at her, sweat running down his face.